How would your life change if you had $900 more every month? Would that make a difference? Would it take the pressure off of some things? Would it help with the payment towards the car, the house, the college for your kid? I need to financially get back on my feet and I need your advice. That is the exact message I got from a friend whom I hadn't talked to in years. I guess after I left my home country Luxembourg and I ventured out to become an entrepreneur in the United States, after all that time, people have observed what happened to my life. And what happened was that I achieved my version of the American dream. And currently, I would say I am at the pinnacle of that. Not to say that it can't get any better, but I have achieved so much, notably financial freedom and location freedom and time freedom. This week, I was impacted by a bad flu. And what I was able to do is all the reasons why I am loving this state of financial freedom. And I was able to just rest. I was able to just coast. That is not very typical for me, but it was worth everything this week. Now, to get to answering the question, how can you be financially successful? And also, what should you do if you've had a financial setback, trying to get on your feet and catch up? Specifically, the words catch up were mentioned. First off, let me tell you that it is completely normal for anyone to run into financial trouble one or several times throughout your life. It's very normal. As a matter of fact, a lot of the financial gurus out there, the financial masters, the entrepreneurial masters, people like Tony Robbins, and what a lot of them have in common is that at some point in their lives, they were actually broke. And yes, me too, I've had good moments and bad moments. I certainly lost a lot of money at times, either in business or in investments. And that is part of the journey. So don't be afraid of that. Trust that you will eventually get out of that hole, but you have to showcase a certain behavior, in my opinion. And that is a behavior that is definitely not the path that the masses choose. It's not the safe path. It is a path that takes some risk, that embraces some risk. I always do these videos and then I say, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And then people come to me and ask for my financial advice. So today I'm giving you financial advice, but I decline all responsibility because at the end of the day, you need to do what's right for you. Agreed? All right. Let's examine for a moment what is the right thing to do according to most financial advisors, according to what society expects you to do. The right thing to do, and I'm not saying that is something bad, but the right thing to do in the traditional sense is get a job, a 9 to 5, most likely buy a house, invest in some sort of real estate, and then start saving for your retirement. During that path, you want to make sure you have insurance. You have life insurance, you have health insurance, you have disability insurance, you have all kinds of insurance. And for all of this to work, there's one premise that is very important, and that is to constantly, during all of that lifespan, live below your means. You always want to spend less money than you earn and then invest the excess. And that's pretty sound, right? That keeps you out of trouble. But the problem is that, yes, we may want to, for a given time period, live below our means, but it is not very much in human nature to maintain that behavior consistently. There are too many temptations out there. And also, it's very normal as a human being that we have dreams. We want to get to the next point. We want to have the newer car, the better car. We want to have the bigger house. We want to have the better vacation. And yes, there is ancient wisdom that teaches us that the true freedom is found in selflessness, in being an ascetic, in being someone who turns into a hermit and goes and lives in the woods or on the top of a mountain, removed from society. And that is very likely a great solution, but it is not one that I'm willing to embrace, and it's not one I think that you will or are willing to embrace. So we have this path written out for us that, quite frankly, from the get-go, is designed for us to fail, because we cannot be stronger than our human elements. It's designed for us to fail, and it is designed to keep us in a very neat lane that has our finances and society and government and whatever we say whatever we mean when we say they, right? They have us controlled. We are meant to be little elements in a large machine, in a large economic machine, and we are meant to produce. We are meant to go to work, spend our money, and also don't really make too big of a move to upset anyone, right? That is what I think common wisdom is, and that is what a lot of people are taught. That is what is expected from a lot of people. Is that wrong? I don't know. If you are happy like that, then it's not wrong for you. But there is another way, and I believe deep in my heart that each time someone asks me, what can I do to improve my financial situation? They don't mean for me to tell them, find a job, manage your expenses, get your life insurance, save for retirement and all of that. I think they know that. Now, do they need to have a certain element of discipline, specifically with living below their means while they build something up? Yeah, 100%. That is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, life would be too easy. But I'm going to tell you right now that what has brought me financial freedom, what has put me in this situation in life where I can choose to just rest for an entire week if my body demands that from me, is certainly not behaving like everyone else does. It has always been linked to risk-taking. It has always been linked to doing things a way that most people wouldn't do. I met a very interesting man a few years ago. His name is Ken Honda, and he's this financial and spiritual guru in Japan. And he has a book called not Future Money. That's John Lee. He has a book called Happy Money. And he taught me one very important lesson, and that is, if you want to make millions, and I'm going to assume you want to make millions, you also have to be prepared to lose millions. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to become a millionaire, or a billionaire for that matter, without also being comfortable losing sometimes. And that losing is embedded in taking risks. As you may know, I have made quite a good living as an entrepreneur in the United States. And I can tell you that entrepreneurship looks nothing like the safe path that an employee takes. And very often is not reasonable. Entrepreneurship is full of risks. Entrepreneurship is full of not saving and taking all of your money and reinvesting in your business. Entrepreneurship is full of hoping and dreams often shattered and then just getting up and trying again and again. And that is something that brought me from someone who was used to having an income of, say, anywhere between $4,000 or $5,000 a month to the sky is the limit. I have made up to $70,000 in just 1 month, and it was not because I behaved like it was the reasonable thing to do. No, not at all. And also, people who observe me from the outside, people who financially have not achieved what I have, they point their fingers at me. They say, you're crazy to do this. You're crazy to give up your job. You're crazy to emigrate. You're crazy to buy Bitcoin. You're crazy to be a business owner. So you're crazy to work day and night at the time when I still was doing that. Now, okay, let me get to the more practical part of this video because I'm sure you're curious about it. Okay, so you're saying, Shankar, that's all nice. I get what you're saying, but I want to start becoming financially better. I want to start doing something today. Great, let's start there. Okay, so number one is, for a temporary phase of your life, you have to live below your means. Because I know what you're going to tell me. You're going to tell me I have nothing to invest. And that's probably true. You spend too much money, or you are on a fixed income and there's just not much left to invest. So you have to live below your means. Whatever that is for you, spend less so that you can invest. You're going to ask why? Because the only way to truly achieve the financial location and time freedom is for you to invest in assets, meaning in things that produce money for you while you sleep, for as long as you have time to wait for it to do that. And ideally, that asset is also something that you can leverage against. What does leveraging against mean? It means that you can borrow money against it. So for most people, for very wealthy individuals, probably amongst the wealthiest in the world, that has been real estate. So we all know that we can take a loan with the bank, buy a house, make the house nice, live in it, and then sell it for more money, or rent it out and take the rental income and reinvest, or use it as a guarantee, use it as collateral to borrow more money. And then we do that within legal frameworks where we spend the smallest possible amount of tax that we can, right? But, for example, myself, yes, I have bought and sold houses a couple of times in my life and made some money, but for example, I don't enjoy real estate. So, in today's day and age, there are alternatives to real estate. And if you look at my hat here, I think you know where I'm going. If you have seen any of my previous content, you know where I'm going. But let's go back and think about those assets. And yes, I'm going to talk about crypto here in a moment, but assets being investments that produce income while you sleep, that is what you need to accumulate. And you need to accumulate as aggressively as it is safe for you. So probably right now, at the rate of how much you can live below your means. And if you don't know so what are those assets? They could be intellectual property, they could be a business, they could be real estate, they could be stock, right? Or they could be crypto. I'm gonna encourage you to invest in any asset that you think you understand and that you enjoy and that you think has a future. But I will, of course, now shift into telling you that I believe the best asset to do that is crypto, specifically Bitcoin. I don't think you can go wrong with Bitcoin. Why am I saying this? It's because we are currently part of a one-in-a-lifetime wealth transfer where an entire financial system goes from antiquated ways to the future. And that is taking the world's finances on the blockchain. And that is transferring everything to crypto. Now, there's a lot of tokens out there to choose from, and you can do all of your research and see which ones you like best. But if you start with one coin, start with Bitcoin. It's the father of all crypto, and I believe it is the future digital gold in the worst case, and in the best case, it is the future digital gold and the future money. The best money in the world, the hardest money that cannot be diluted. Inflation cannot get to it because Bitcoin is rare and finite. But that's a different topic. So, what is a good investment? A good investment is one that produces, according to Main Street financial wisdom, more than 8% APR, so more than 8% within a year. Most safe stocks, most safe investments will produce far less than that, actually, because it is common wisdom that if you invest in the stock market, you make on average 8% yearly. The problem with that 8%, even if you do 10, 11%, that doesn't make you financially free. Especially not if you start late. Especially not if you have failed and you have to get up, dust yourself off, and try again. That works for wealthy families, wealthy industries, wealthy companies that have so much capital to work with that those 8% do move the needle for them. But for people like you and I, the 8% won't make you rich. Is it smart to invest in them? Yeah, it's better than nothing, but it's not gonna do for you what you are asking me for. It's not gonna give you time, location. It's not gonna give you financial freedom. No, it won't do that. You have to resort to investments that make more for you. And those investments are going to be riskier by nature. But if all of your investments are riskier, all of your investments will also make more money. And if you still apply the rule of living below your means proportionally, then the investment can go bad sometimes. It's okay, you will overcome it. Last year I lost $300,000 because of bad investments. But that hasn't stopped me. Why? Because I invest, of course, in crypto in itself, but I also invest in the crypto markets as a liquidity provider, which means that I take my worth and I give it to the markets so that they can buy, sell, transact, and then I get compensated for that. And that, believe it or not, my dear friends, gives me returns on the low side of 15% per year, which is already not bad. But that's only the beginning. My average investment yields me 300% annually. And there are quite a few that do even more, 5, 6, 700%. Do they do that all the time? No. I study these financial markets, these crypto markets, and I move my money around. But on average, they do that for me. And you know what I've seen? I've shown it a good amount of times, live, in recorded videos. Just go to my social media and I often show you in real time how I claim my daily yield. But I have the feeling that I can show that as often as I want. Some people just will never act. And I think that is the big problem. That's also a big frustration. People ask us, but they don't do. And I don't know why. I know that part of it is not understanding. And that part I actually solved. I solved by creating educational material. I have a boot camp. You can find all of the information below the video. But the important part is to overcome this obsession for safety and security and actually start investing on whatever level is healthy for you. One of my friends who consumes this material, she's a single parent on a modest income, but she has started dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. She has started investing in an asset that annually has grown by 115%. She's listened to me and she started doing that, and all of a sudden she can afford some nice things for her kids that she wasn't able to before. So it is about having the gumption to do it. I think I made myself clear, haven't I? Now, for those of you who have a lump sum of money to invest today, so we are August 1st of the year 2025, you have a lump sum of money to invest today. Let's say $10,000. What should you do? What should you do? It depends on your time horizon, and it depends also on your patience. So I'm gonna go with the assumption that you are okay to wait 5 years. Because when we talk about really becoming financially free, when we talk about building up your financial life again, you gotta give that some time. And 5 years is not a lot of time for that. Bitcoin very likely within the next 5 years will reach $1 million easily. That means it will 10x from where we are now. So if you have that investment horizon, do you care about Bitcoin dropping temporarily in the upcoming bear market? No, you don't. You buy Bitcoin. If you want it easy, you take your 10K now and you buy Bitcoin. And then you chill. Also understanding that Bitcoin you can borrow against. So even if it drops in value, if you need a little bit of money, let's say during the bear market, you can still responsibly borrow a little bit of money against it. Of course, you got to do it in a way where you don't get liquidated, of course, but you can still do that. That's what I would do. People always expect this to be so difficult. You got to be willing to do something that most people don't. A lot of us in crypto look up to Michael Saylor, and he says, buy Bitcoin at whatever price, even at the top. And he does it himself. He does it himself. No price is too high for him. Now, if you don't have the time, if you don't have 5 years, and maybe you say, I want something in between. I do want to be patient, but I also want to have income from my 10K. You're in luck, because now we're getting into my genius zone. I take my crypto capital at any given point in time and I invest it not only in holding tokens and not in trading. I used to trade a lot. It works great, but it takes a lot of time. It takes too much time. 4, 5, 6 hours of being glued behind the screen. Nah, that was not sustainable for me. But what is sustainable for me is analyze the crypto markets, see where the action is happening, and then provide my financial power, provide my capital to those markets so that the traders can do their thing and I collect my fees. That is known as liquidity provisioning. It's very powerful. And what you can do with 10K is invest it in a liquidity position and then draw from the daily yield or the monthly yield that it generates, understanding that it will most likely with reasonable risk applied, on average it will produce 0.3% daily. That is $30 every day. So that $10,000 would generate for you $30 every single day. And in a month, that is $900. And $900 is a lot of money to be made passively. Let me know, how would your life change if you had $900 more every month? Would that make a difference? Would it take the pressure off of some things? Would it help with the payment towards the car, the house, the college for your kid? I'm sure it would. And the decision is up to you now. It's the power is in making a decision and taking risks. The other thing is that you got to be comfortable to see that capital fluctuate. Because your 10K will not always be 10K. One day it will be 12K. One day it will be 9K. Maybe at some point it will be 7K. Sometimes, of course, you have to do a few things. You have to move your money around. You might have to, if we get close to the top of the bull market, we might have to take that money and then short the market. You don't know what that is and how that works, which is why I'm here. I'm doing that. I'm teaching you how to do it. And yeah, so all of that information is below the video. So let me summarize this whole video in a short form. It means you start acting, you start investing in assets. You don't do what most people are taught to do. You take risk, you live a little bit below your means, only temporarily, so that you can break into the territory of financial